Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. I invite you. This is Dr. Penny Njoroge of Angel Counseling Services, a counseling therapist, a survivor of many things, but also a woman in the making. I want to invite you to come and deliberate with us this discussion on grief during the holidays, even as we prepare to get into the new year, is worth listening. Please invite your friends. Please share and share. We all know that there are many people who are afraid of getting into 2021 because of what we have experienced in the past year. There are many of us like me who have lost their loved ones close to this time of the season, and we are afraid. We know when Christmas comes or any holiday seasons, we are reminded of the absence of our loved ones. And I just say that a lot of times there are many other things we are grieving. You've gone through divorce, you've been laid off from a job, your children have gone into drugs, and many other things that are hurting you, that where nobody brings you a condolence card, where nobody brings you a casserole dish because they don't even know you're going through these things. So grief has many facets, and many things we don't even talk about. Thank you so much for all of you, Brother Greg, Pauline Wangari, and many others. Please tag Wanja Jane. Thank you so much for joining me, because together we can do it. Oftentimes when we start these meetings, we start with playing a song. But I want to sing a song that I sing for myself oftentimes when I'm sad. Yesterday was a particularly hard day for me, because if there is somebody I loved in my life, it was my mother. Many of you saw the tribute I played for I wrote yesterday on Facebook for my father and my mother. If I get emotional, please forgive me, because I cried yesterday like nobody's business, because my mother passed away of all the days on the 30th of December, just when we were thinking we are closing the year with her. My father had died 3 months earlier. So you can imagine the impact of her dying suddenly. She was sickly, yes, but it took just a few hours for her to get sick, and very quickly so. And so I know when I say this, there are many of you. There's my sister Sally Nyoika. Sally, nice to see you, my sister, all the way from London. Invite other people to come and share on this. And so as we grieve, one thing that encourages me as a child of God, as a woman who serves with, in the ministry, and as a woman who is walking the walk, not any different from the rest of you, there is pain everywhere. And this 2020 has taught us many things, that none of us is exempted from loss. None of us is exempted from pain. And I come here so that we can say, let's talk about these things. I love using Isaiah 1:8, where God knew that some days would be so tough, you cannot even pray for yourself. You are complaining, you are angry, and it is okay to be angry. Hugs, Mama. Thank you, Severina. And it's okay, and I love coming here because it takes away the isolation I feel. Oh, you lost your mama in 2012. Mine died in 2006. And so we are here because we share something. We have something in common, the grief of loved ones. And so let's come here and talk about it. Isaiah 1:8 says, "Come, let us reason together." God knew there would be days when nothing would make sense. I know that day we got a call that my mother had passed away, I found myself in a fetal position. That tells you how painful it was, and I know many of you can identify with that. There's a saying we use when we do counseling, that unless you have walked in my shoes, you have no idea what we are talking about. And so many of you here have walked in my shoes. I have walked in your shoes. So we can walk this together, talk about it, and say it is okay to cry. Let me share a song that gets me going. Just the hope that while I don't see my mother here anymore, I know I'll see them. My father, my mother, my siblings have lost 3 younger brothers and a younger sister. So grief is a common part of my journey. I'm also a board certified death and grief therapist. And by the way, I'm also a telehealth provider, so it doesn't matter which state you are in. But if you are hurting and if you need somebody to talk to, remember I am here. I'm both certified as a therapist, as a telehealth provider, as a death and grief therapist. So, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here because we are all in this together. Amen. There's a land that is fairer than day, and by faith we can see it afar, for the Father waits over the way to prepare us a dwelling place there, in the sweet by and by. We shall meet on the beautiful shore, in the sweet by and by. We shall meet on the beautiful shore. We shall meet, we shall sing, we shall reign, in the land where the saved never die. We shall rest free from sorrow and pain, safe at home in the sweet by and by, in the sweet by and by. We shall meet on the beautiful shore, in the sweet by and by. We shall meet on that beautiful shore. Amen, Jesus. There is hope. That is why we are told, do not grieve hopelessly. Am I saying it is easy? It is not easy. I sing, I cry, and I admit I hurt. But it is okay. It is okay because I cry hoping that one of these days I will see my mother, I will see them again. And you will, because I saw my sister here, Joyce, all the way from Kenya. Thank you, Lucy Simiu, and all of you that are here so that we can cry together. I give you permission to feel your pain. I give you permission to say, I hurt, I miss my father, I miss my mother, I miss the people that you have also lost. But I also give you permission to say that you hurt when your children are not doing well, when you've been laid off your job because of the circumstances of the pandemic or many other reasons. I want you to admit that you're hurting because you're not getting the promotion that you think you deserve. These are the things I said. Grief is not just for the loss of losing a loved one to death, but there are so many other grievances that we need to acknowledge. I said these are grievances where nobody brings you. Nancy Karago, I see you. Thank you, my sister. Where nobody brings you a condolence card, where nobody even comes to visit you. If anything, you get blamed when you go through a separation and divorce. So instead of the comfort and the support, you get condemnation, you get judged. And yes, there is hope. That's why I'm saying, and I encourage myself, it doesn't matter what people say about you. When you're grieving over these things, when you're hiding and crying on your pillows and nobody ever knows, you come out in the morning, you dress up like Penny, I'm in pink because it encourages me. I want to say it is well. But I wish you knew what yesterday was like. It was not pink. It was dark. It was empty. There was a pain I was feeling, wishing of all the times. Every time I get an award, every time I graduate with something, I want to share it with my father and my mother, but now they are not there. And so I come here to say, it is well for you and for me. Call other people to come and be here with us, to share with us. What is grief? Grief can be continuous. I want us to really look at grief seriously and not hide away from it, but also admit to us why is grief so important for us to talk about? Because it is a continuous intermittent pain, where you feel hopeless and helpless, where sometimes you are angry. And we thank you, my sister Joyce. Remember, I don't know where you grew up, whether you are told that you don't complain, God never makes mistakes. I know he doesn't, but I still felt angry. Why take my mother when I needed her most, when I was still dealing with the pain of my divorce? I had reason to cry like a baby for my mother. I don't know what you're crying for this morning or this afternoon. COVID-19 has impacted us in ways we never dreamed about. I don't know where you are and who you are, but I want to acknowledge you. I want to say, I hear you. I want to say it is okay to say you are hurting, you are broken. Do not allow people to define you because of the pain you feel. Do not allow the pain you feel to define who you are, because you know what? This too shall pass. Let me read you something. I love the verse I used to advertise this meeting, and that is Isaiah 43:18. And it says, 43:18 and 19. Remember ye not the former things, the 2020, the tragedies, the loss of lives, neither consider the things of old, your divorce, your loss of property, your loss of job, your foreclosure. I've gone through foreclosure. I know what it feels like. Behold, I will do a new thing, and it shall spring forth. Shall ye not know it? I will even make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert of your life. What desert? Are you in the Kalahari desert of pain? Those of us who come from Africa, we know there is Sahara Desert, there is the Kalahari Desert. Yeah, we know there is Arizona, which is as dry can be in some places. If that is where the way you look at your life and you're thinking, God, can anything ever good come out of this? Yes, there is continuous pain. My sister Joyce reminds us. She lost her mother, who was my godmother. So I can identify with that pain that I want to forget, but I cannot forget. I'm not one who says that time wipes away the pain. It does not. You just learn to deal with it. You start dwelling on the memories instead of the pain, looking at the legacy that our loved ones left behind. And if your grief is over things like divorce and other losses in life, God helps you to realize that whatever has happened, sometimes you can't change, but you can learn from them. You can become a better person. And the most of all is realizing that I am not in this alone. You are not in this alone, my brother, my sister. Whatever form of grief you are going through. And sometimes when you have lost somebody, maybe sometimes through grief, through suicide, through accidents, through many other forms of death. And when I talk about if like me, you have ever attempted suicide, and I do not ever talk about this because I'm proud about this, but I know somebody somewhere is feeling isolated. Maybe you feel the shame I felt when I tried it. You feel the regrets, because there is regret and everything. But only the people who have gone through that to that level can understand why I say you are grieving even that. I am sorry, Ray Makasi, for your loss. And when you're going through all these losses, which push you to a point of no return, and you end up trying suicide, you end up trying all kinds of things. And those who don't try suicide, ask me why people start drinking. They start doing drugs. Christian like you and me. People who have been teachers, people who have been counselors, and suddenly you hear that minister so-and-so, pastor so-and-so is drinking. And we start judging them, we start blaming them, without asking ourselves, what happened? This is where I'm inviting you, my brother, my sister. Before you judge somebody, Minister Kakuya, thank you for coming. Before you judge somebody and condemn them for, how can Dr. Penny do this? Ask me that, I'll tell you why. Because you get desperate. We talked about hopelessness and helplessness. And before you know it, you're looking for something to soothe your pain. Your mother, your father dies, your child, Minister Kakuya and Joyce are here. People who are the ministry of helping with families who have lost children, infants to stillbirth, or young infants, or have through miscarriages. That is grief like no other. Where you know you are carrying a baby, have gone through that, and you never get to see that baby. And the days this happened to us, you don't even get to see that baby. But you know deep inside yourself that it happened. Are you here in this group? And you went through that. And like me, you never talked about it. Thank you, Vicky. You never talked about it. You never acknowledged that pain. You have held it in there. And those of you who have done that, you know what I'm talking about, that until you bring it out, it continues boiling. It becomes venom. It becomes poisonous. That is what unacknowledged grief, for whatever reason, whatever is your grief, whether it is losing a loved one to death, or whether it is losing some material, some lifestyle, some even losing your health. I've gone through major health issues and I know what it is. A go-getter like me and you who is listening to me, you did everything for yourself. You are the caregiver for other people. Vicky Pierce, my colleague at the hospital, you know that. You know what I was when I was working. But you get to that point where your health crashes on you. Are you there and you are wondering, how can I pick up the pieces and go on? You can pick it up. Not because of you, but God will help you pick up the pieces in your life. That is why he's telling us, let go of what you're going through. Let go what you have gone through. Forget the past. Is it easy to forget? No, it is not. I'm not saying that you can just wake up one morning and say, I am forgetting my pain. I'm forgetting my bitterness. I'm forgetting my unforgiveness. All these things we need to let go. That is why God is telling us in Isaiah 43:18, forget the past. What past do you need to forget so that you can deal with your grief? One thing I want to remind us is that when we do not deal with our grief, it becomes complicated. It becomes hardened in us. And by the time you come to realize, wait a minute, for me, 6.5 years after going through divorce, I woke up and found out that I cannot sleep, I cannot eat, I'm weeping endlessly. I can't even focus. I was walking like a zombie, performing my work, ministering, praying for people, encouraging people. But deep within me, I was broken. Why do I say it? So that if you are there and you're going through the same thing, you are not alone. I felt alone until I realized that God was watching. At my worst moment, he stepped into my life. And even before, when I thought he had stepped, he was always there. He's always there with you. Even now when you're thinking that, God, this COVID has, for those who have gone through, who have gone through who have had COVID, the aftermath is said to be worse than the COVID itself. The lungs and everything, the impact that COVID is leaving in people's lives is harder than we are thinking. And allow me to use this forum. Please take care of yourself. We are talking about grief. If there is anything you can avoid to grieve in a year or two to come, from something you can prevent, why go to places when you can avoid going there? Why do things that can wait until this cloud passes? And my son and I were talking last night and saying, we may never see the normal life we had in the past. But guess what? If God decides to teach us to live with a new norm, can we be patient? Not just grieve the old normal. And I'm one who has been challenging us even as we grieve the past. Can we look at something where we can eventually say that out of this COVID or pandemic, there was a blessing in disguise? As we are talking, I can say I have 13 people who are watching from all over the world. I see my sisters from Kenya. I see others from the different states. And others are from everywhere. Because there is Facebook, we have Zoom, we have WhatsApps. This has been triggered by our anxiety and our need to keep in touch. Please share this message. Invite other people to come and let's talk together. There is something that we can tell the devil tomorrow. You know what, devil, you are a loser. You thought you finished us, but you allowed us to become more innovative. We have reinvented ourselves. We have come up with other ways of talking. You can talk to your family everywhere. We have ways of keeping in touch with our elderly family members without risking their health, by going into their houses, by leaving meals and other necessities outside their doors and calling them. I left a meal outside your door, and not just about our families. We can share with our neighbors. I have seen small children making lasagna, making fruit baskets, because this COVID-19 has triggered compassion in many of us. And I'm saying, yes, we are grieving so many things. There is no doubt about that. But how are we going to come out of this? I refuse to come out the way I started. And I chose to do this program today because I know tomorrow is a new beginning. And I am claiming it, I am decreeing it, and I am declaring it for you and for me. That regardless of what has happened in the past year, we have grieved, we have cried, we've been felt so insecure. But I am praying that you and I can gather together and say, we have had enough. But having enough is not just continuing to indulge in things that are hurting us. I see nurses in this forum. I hear them grieving. As we are talking about grief, think about the nurses and the doctors, young doctors who are dying because of what they are doing, old doctors who have been in the profession for the longest, but now the pandemic has taken them quickly. We are grieving them. We feel for their families. That is grief untold. All we can see is the outside picture of what is happening. But grief continues for years to come. But there are different ways of dealing with it. How can we help one another? Learn to carry each other's burdens. I notice now we are sharing meals, we are sharing, sanitary things. We are sharing other things that other people, maybe you have a lot of things in your fridge, and a family somewhere, there's a mother somewhere who cannot feed their family. Somebody is asking, bring them on camera. I don't quite understand what you mean by that, bring them on camera, because this is it's a public live forum, and I hope everybody can join in. That's my intention, and so please share. Don't grieve alone. I encourage us to have family discussions. We've had family secrets for the longest, but now we realize that they are hurting us more and more, because those family secrets are left secrets for eternity. Consider what is happening with COVID. We are grieving. The fact that when you fell sick, you would, or your mother or your father fell sick, or your child, you would take them to the emergency room, stay with them, until they are taken care of. What is happening today? You take your loved one to the hospital. You leave them at the door. Sometimes never to see them again, because they get into the emergency room, they're very sick, and things happen, things progress in a different way, and before you know it, you are called to say goodbye to them. We never did this in the past. It is hurting beyond anybody's imagination. We are grieving things that we cannot even control. But you know what? That's why I'm saying that's why I started with that song, that we know that there is a God in all this. God did not bring this to us, but He promises to be with us when all these things are going on. And as we are dealing with these things, I also want to encourage us, include our children, include your children and your grandchildren as you discuss what is going on. Why did I talk about family secrets? We know even in the past when people have died and we are grieving them and we bury them, the family, friends come and we do everything, we raise money and we bury them in very expensive things. A sister reminded me yesterday that as we talk about things, I'm also going to talk about some very sensitive, touchy things. We are grieving over people who have passed away. We need to be grieving people who are hurting today, who need our help, who need our roses, who need new clothes, who need food, who need a call, who need to know we care about them. Don't wait to do these things when we bury them. Do not wait to call us to raise money. for you to buy your mother or your father a coffin or a casket worth $20,000 when they were alive. You never showed them love. You never cared for them. I'm throwing this out there because I think it is long overdue. We need to start loving the living, helping them, encouraging them while they are still alive. Those who are coming in now, I say that yesterday was the day my mother passed away 14 years ago. It's hard when you think backwards. I want to say that I would do anything. Cindy Harris, welcome. I remember your story about your son. I want to say that I would do anything today to give my mother everything that I wanted to give her. And yes, for some reason or other, God kept on reminding me, you don't know how long you had with your mother. And God would make it possible against so many odds for me to have my mother and my father come and visit my family in the US and give us a time to bid our farewells, never knowing that was the last time we would see them. Who do you have alive with you today? Is it your sister? I hear people say that, I haven't spoken. You ask somebody, how is your sister doing? I don't know. I've not spoken to my sister for the last 10 years. Wait until they are gone. You think you hate them. You think they don't matter. The pain of grieving a loved one that you never showed love, you grieve with guilt and shame. Why wait and go through that? I said I'm going to step onto some shoes. It is necessary we do that because let us do what we can while we still have an opportunity. This COVID has taught us that we do not have any clue. We thought we knew that death is unpredictable. But this one, if you still don't believe it, I don't know what will ever break any of us to realize that none of us is exempted. It has taken the rich, it has taken ministers, it has taken government officials, it has taken doctors, nurses, counselors like me, ministers, anybody, children, young and old. What are you waiting for? To realize that you need to love the people around you. Do you have grudges? Are there things that were done to you growing up? Yes, I'm still talking about grief because you've been grieving that bad treatment. You've been grieving that abuse, that molestation. I can only imagine. There is grief that has left you and me stuck in my domestic violence, in whatever you went through, in poor parenting, you were raised in poverty, and that is all you remember. Growing up in the slums, it took God's help for us to appreciate that it was not our parents' choice to raise us there. I was the oldest, and I knew that we were chucked out of our family because I desired to go to school, and my grandfather wouldn't see that. Had I not known that, I would forever blame my parents for raising us in poverty. But because I knew what triggered that, what led us to that, we were able to go through it and appreciate that one day. And I remember that the reason I miss my mother is her telling us, Wajiro, you have what it takes for you to survive anything in life because you have God in your life. And I say the same thing to you today. Whatever you are grieving, you have power within you that you do not even know. I encourage you, I'm inviting you to tap into the power that's hidden within inside of you. I always tell others and remind myself, thank you, Hadassah, that in each one of us there is a seed of greatness. It does not matter what people have called you. It does not matter how people have rejected you. It does not matter how people have worked on breaking you down instead of building you up. You are grieving that you are rejected in your family. You became the black sheep. You became the odd one, and you've been grieving rejection for all your life. That's why I said, maybe you came here thinking I'm going to talk about the loss, those we have lost to COVID and to many other things. And true enough, I'm addressing that. But I'm also bringing the many other grievances that nobody talks about, because you ask yourself, who cares? I care because I've been there. And many other, if you dared to look for somebody to talk to, you'll be surprised who can say, I've been there. Me too. I don't know how many of you have shared your pain, the rejection you went through, your poverty, your failures, your regrets. And somebody says, wait a minute, me too. Because you helped them identify with you, you identified with their pain, you brought reality into the forefront. But we are so afraid of saying, I made mistakes. I've not always been a Dr. Penny. I've been that girl that made blunders. I've been that girl who was depressed. And you are depressed here this day. You come here because you are feeling depressed and you are wondering what next. God next. That is where we are told in the book of Deuteronomy. You will share your stories so that you can help others to know that they are not alone. Remember the Bible, I don't know where it says that your suffering is not unique to you. It is common to humanity. Go to Russia. You will find men and women crying like we are crying here today. Go to all states, the 50 states in the US, wherever you are listening to, you will find men and women who are going through the same things that brought you to this forum today. And if you are going to listen to this message tomorrow, remember that there are many who are here today that came because I want to hear. Who else can understand what I'm going through? Have you ever been in a place, stuck somewhere, and you're asking yourself, does anybody understand? Does anybody care? If we had the chance to come together and share the stories and the pain, the experiences we've all gone through, you'll be surprised how many people will tell you, I hear you, my sister. I hear you, my brother. We have brothers here who have also been abused. So when I talk about domestic violence, I'm not just talking about the grief that women feel, but what about the grief that our sons and our brothers and our uncles feel when they too are being abused? Grief is not based on one person. Grief is common to humanity. And so do not blame yourself that you are feeling so broken. This morning, I just took a walk. I left the house, went to a lake, and I encourage you, find ways. Do you listen to music? Do you love walking, getting yourself into natural trails? I just left the house, put on a heavy coat. I knew it was going to be cold, but I needed to walk away from everything. I needed to walk in a quiet place, and I put some old hymns like the one I've just sung and listened to them as I walked. I'm encouraging you to find for yourself what encourages you, what pulls you, what is the gun that pulls you out of that pit of discouragement. Because when you are grieving, and I say it again, I'll repeat, grief is not just losing a loved one to death, and that is painful. That is painful because it is so final. And the many times I've been there with my parents and my siblings, I've wondered, how can I face another one? And before I finish that, somebody else is gone. If it is not my family, my very close friends, my colleagues at work, because death does not discriminate. But I want to encourage you. Allow yourself to grieve. Do not subdue it. I had my late brother Kimani who used to tell me, be strong, Penny. In Swahili, he kept on telling me, kaa ngumu. Stay strong. And so I wanted to stay strong for my brother because he was my kid brother. But at the time my brother was telling me that, I was shattered on the inside. But I wanted to make an impression because he so much believed in me. The truth is, at times it is good, but there's also a time when you have to tell yourself, you know what, I am not strong, I am broken, I am in a mess. Look for somebody, talk to somebody. And I'm going to challenge us as a society, because part of the reason that people are grieving and grieving and grieving alone for whatever reason, never sharing it with anybody, is because many of us, when somebody comes and tells you, oh, my marriage is on the rocks, please pray with me. The next thing I hear, you have told your friend, oh, let's pray for Dr. Penny. Or you're even putting it on Facebook, let's pray for Dr. Penny because of ABCD. I'm on Facebook, I'm on YouTube, I'm on WhatsApp. If I wanted it there, I would have done it myself. If I wanted my friends to know, I would have told them. But if I have picked on you, if your friend has picked you and said, I will share it with Jane or John or Michael or whoever, and then you break that confidence, you break that trust and share it with the third party, that is the worst disservice you can do to anybody. That is why people are suffering. Even when they say that I have lost a loved one and they are feeling broken, and they don't feel strong enough to tell other people because they saw what the community did. They talked, they laughed, they mocked when a different family was going through their grief, either because of suicide or because of drugs and everything, and everybody was laughing and said, oh, this family left their son or daughter alone. They did not protect them. They did not care for them. So that is how they ended where they are. The next person who goes through that same situation will be very scared to come and ask for help to a group of people, to women or men, to pastors who would then share the story. Then what happens? It becomes a vicious circle. People are suffering alone and in hiding. Worse still, in this pandemic, when you cannot even go and visit the person you are grieving about. So it becomes that I talked about complicated grief, that we are not, the grief that we are not breaking. Every time I talk about grief and other predicaments in life, I think of this big elephant in the room, the big pink elephant. You cannot shuffle it with one push. But guess what? When you share it with a confidential person, a trusted friend, a caring person, a compassionate person, you are breaking it, pegging it, bit by bit. Would you, in the society, would you be that friend who can help a grieving person break their big elephant of grief, of loss, of disappointments, of regrets? Can you be that person who is going to help your friend break it and break it and break it until it is manageable? That is how we deal with grief. I will not tell you that you can wake up one morning and say, okay, I got over the death of my mother. I wish I could. It's been 14 years. But yesterday I woke up and I said, I'm not going to cry. I'm going to be okay. I did not tell anybody, not even my children, but I found myself by midday, I couldn't contain my emotions. And my granddaughter found me sitting out in the cold and asked me what's going on. And I had to confess. And guess what? Immediately, my tears started flowing. And within a few minutes, I felt better. I was able to write the tribute I wrote for my parents yesterday. After dealing with my emotions and after facing the reality that this is what it is okay to feel it. Feel your pain. You have every reason. We need to stop telling people, be strong. Unless you are telling them, be strong, you'll be okay. I'm here for you. I'm not going to leave you alone. But don't judge them and tell them, how long are you going to be weeping for this person? How long are you going to be crying for your marriage? How long are you going to be crying for adult children who have refused to grow up, grief over grief, pain over pain. How many of us have told parents who are grieving the fact that my children finished college, but they can't get a job, maybe because they took the wrong career, maybe because they're in the wrong city, maybe because of so many other things. But instead of sitting with these families who are grieving different kind of things, I hope you're getting me. There are so many grievances that people are dealing with. Instead of staying with these people and analyzing what's going on, we judge them, we mock them, we condemn them, and we make it very hard for them. I say don't subdue your emotions. Is there forgiveness you need to do while you're grieving? I said there are many things that have happened to us in the past within the family secrets, the things that happened, and we were told you dare not talk about it. Yeah, jikaze, you are being told, jikaze, you are being told, be strong, Nancy. That is not, it is okay to be told that, but you also need to know that we all have different capacities. My coping skills may be very different from my sister. I may be strong or weaker. And I need to acknowledge my sisters and my brothers that, yes, we are grieving the same parent. But again, the relationships you have with the people you are grieving kind of define the way you cope with their grief. If you are grieving divorce, or if you are grieving children, parenting, if you are grieving the loss of a job, it matters. You have lost a job. Do you have another resource somewhere? We could both be laid off, but you have a business going. You have a farm. I have nothing beside my job, for very different reasons. For those of us who are in the diaspora, you know what I'm talking about. The loss of the job you have could mean the end of everything. And you know what I mean when I say the end of everything. It becomes a desperate situation. But I want to remind us, there is God. Jeriwa Moga Karibu. There is God who goes into those valleys with you. When you're grieving it, I don't know about you, but it feels like you have suddenly been thrown into a cliff. I remember of a day in my life where I felt like I was carrying my 4 children, 2 on this side and 2 on the other side. And I was about to jump with them off down a cliff. And I remember pleading with God, please, God, don't allow me go down with my children, because this is my legacy. This is my future. And God hears. God says he hears your cries. People may not hear you. People may pretend to hear when you're crying for help. People may judge you when you're crying for help. But God, he hears, he cares, he does something. Be still and let God be God. Remember, he says, do not be afraid. I will never leave you and I will never forsake you. Sometimes those words sound so rhetorical. God, I don't want to wait. I need you here and now. I don't know whether you've been there, where I'm asking God, God, I can't wait. My child is in trouble. My health is in jeopardy. I need money now, not tomorrow. Grief, deep, deep grief. The sad thing is that many of us are watching and waiting. I've been given time. Let's give her a couple of months and see how far she goes. If you've ever done that on somebody, please think again. It's not fun to be at that point in life where you are grieving your past and not knowing your future. You are grieving your past. You are so fearful. You are so helpless. And you are so uncertain of what the future holds. Allow me to say that the reason I encourage us, hi Rose, the reason I encourage us to relate with God, it's not for fun. But there comes a time when your grief is so palpable, is so touchable. and nobody else can help you. We want to help you. We want to do what you are doing. We want to speak life into your life. I don't know why it is not on camera. Let me go back to that. There are times we want to help, but we are also incapacitated. We are limited, but God is not limited. I said I want to bring God into all this because your family, your friends may want to do everything. They may be caring. We may be loving, but we are limited. But there is a God who is not limited. That is the God we speak about. I don't know many people call God the higher power. It's okay if that is who you call your higher power. Whoever you are, but let there be somebody bigger than you and bigger than your problem. Because of that song, that little song we say, bigger than all my problems. My God is bigger than all my problems. Let your God have a God that is bigger than all your problems. Because a day will come, this pandemic has come, that is bigger than us. But it is not bigger than God. Amen. This COVID-19 is not bigger than the God we serve. And I encourage you to know that it is not over. I said deal with everyone, allow everyone to express their emotions. When you're talking in the family, don't suppress your children. Don't tell them not to talk. Don't tell them, oh, don't be afraid. If they're afraid, allow them. What are you afraid about? How can we help? What do you need from us as a family for you to be able to cope? Allow them to express their emotions, their anxiety, their anger, their fear, their disappointments, especially our children, the frustrations they're having for doing school at home, online schooling. Some are saying, I miss my teacher, I miss my friends. I miss the outdoor activities. We may suppress them. They are grieving. So that's why I'm saying grief is not just about losing to death. There are so many grievances that have come out of this. I can't mingle with my friends as much as I love to. We are no longer going to church the way we did in the past. We would linger around and have a cup of coffee and do this and do the other. We are no longer doing that for safety reasons. Are you telling me that it doesn't matter? How can we help one another? Can we meet here on Zoom? Can we meet? Can you call me? Can I call you and check? I've not seen you. I've not heard from you for some time. Sometimes there is anger with God. Allow them to express their anger with God. It's okay to say you're angry because God understands and He knows it. Even if you don't express it, He knows. Are there some unfinished businesses as you are grieving the loss of a loved one? How many of us have lost a loved one to death? And you have something against them. I wish you would come back and I would talk about this with them. They left something, they did something to you, they hurt you, and you have not been able to forgive them. Who is hurting? Refusing to forgive somebody who is dead is more harmful to you than anybody else. One, they will never come back to repay you. But the more you continue holding that anger and bitterness, the more it continues simmering, boiling, poisoning you. How about forcing people to subdue their anger? Do not subdue anybody. Allow people to grieve. And the other thing that I want to say for us as Christians, can we stop over-spiritualizing things, especially grief? How many times have we told somebody, don't grieve over your mother, stop crying, your mother is in heaven. I know my mother is in heaven. That is where she wanted to be. But when you tell me that, yeah, don't cry, your mother is in heaven, it's not fair. I know where she is. But be sensitive to the fact that I would wish to see my mother here today. And I know they were sick. I've learned to release them. I said yesterday, I'm glad they are no longer hurting. But that when grief is very fresh, watch the words you say. A mother has lost a baby, had had a miscarriage. Joyce is here. Pastor Charles is in this group. And you're telling that mother, oh, I never saw my baby, but I know I had a miscarriage. In our times, you were told, you cannot even count that as a child. And I only counted that as a child much later in life, when I realized that that was a part of my history. You are telling them, well, you never saw that baby, so stop crying. They've lost a part of them. Or you have other children. A child who has passed away can never be replaced by 10 other children. A mother and a father will continue counting the birthdays of this child who has died prematurely. As a toddler, as a teenager, every time there is a marriage of a child the same age as that child they lost, they'll be counting. My daughter will be a teenager today. My daughter will be graduating. So be sensitive to the things you tell people when they are grieving. The things when you are celebrating your own events, please be sensitive. I remember when my children were young at All Saints Cathedral, I still remember a woman of God, she was called Phoebe. She told us, when you celebrate what God has done for you, we were in a women fellowship. And she told us, remember when you are celebrating what God has done for you. When you're giving a testimony or your husband is doing this to you, there is a woman grieving domestic violence. There is a man grieving domestic violence abuse. There is somebody grieving financial abuse when you're saying, oh, he bought me a new car. It's okay to celebrate. But as we talk about grief, let us celebrate wisely, with sensitivity to the people around us. When we are celebrating how well our children are doing, look around you and do it with wisdom. Around you, there are women who've never had children, families that have never had children. They will never have children. When we are talking about our children doing this, that, and the other, and it is okay, I celebrate my children, don't get me wrong, but I'm asking us to be sensitive of the people around us. There is a mother and a father who have no idea where their teenage son or daughter is. There is a family somewhere who are hearing you bragging and saying all the good things you have done to have your children become who they are, whose son or daughter is incarcerated in a prison. As you're talking about all the good things around you, there is a son or a daughter in a different family, could be your sisters, could be your neighbors, your co-worker, whose child is in a rehab for drugs, for alcoholism, for depression. Please, let's be sensitive. Let's be aware that there are bad things happening around us when we are celebrating. I say again, celebrate. I do not say we don't celebrate, but I'm asking us, can we celebrate with some sensitivity? Galatians 6 verse 2 says, carry each other's burdens. Be sensitive to one another. Allow yourselves to grieve publicly as appropriate. Sharing is caring. Don't keep on telling people, don't cry. Let people cry. Jesus cried when Lazarus died. This idea of telling people, how long are you going to be crying? When my brother who followed me died in 1993 in a fatal instant accident, somebody asked me, Mwagi is not the first one to die. He's not the last one to die. Put yourself in my position. This is my follower. The first death in our family. Are you there and you've been told that? Are you there and you have told somebody those words? I am saying this to educators, to be sensitive, to be compassionate around the people around us, especially here we are, going into the new year. We've celebrated Christmas. Did you think about people who are celebrating Christmas after just burying a mother? I have a friend, we all know her. One of us in our groups, she traveled to Kenya to see a mother who had been fighting sick for the longest. This lady is back here with us and we are celebrating. Can we be sensitive and know that she just buried a mother? We have in our communities, there is a lady whose mother died yesterday. The same day my mother died 14 years ago. There is somebody whose son is in the mortuary at the moment. I know of a family in Atlanta whose mother who are burying their mother on Saturday, immediately after New Year. Tell me, what are those three girls going to be thinking tomorrow as we celebrate the New Year? A New Year without their mother. That's why I'm saying, can we be sensitive? Grieving and celebrating is part of this life. They coexist. But what we need to do is to be sensitive. We need to know what we are doing with other people. We need to know how to help other people. And don't just be a spectator. I'll say this again. Don't just be a spectator. Don't wait until people die. So for us to raise $20,000, $30,000 or hundreds of shillings in Kenya, and when this person was in the hospital, none of us visited them. None of us gave even a dime to feed their families when they were lying in the hospital. Can we reverse those roles? Can we be more proactive? Don't wait until death has hit us. Let us grieve with the grieving families. And grieving is not when somebody is dead, but we need to be involved through the process of sickness, through the process of healing. I know when I was sick, it took me 2 years to recover, to get back to some kind of normalcy. It's been hard. But I thank God for the many, many friends who prayed with me, who poured encouragement into my life. I am who I am today because people cared. And I'm encouraging us. They taught me to care. It taught me to reach out. It taught me to do these things. I don't always do these things because I must or because it's fun. Sometimes I have to force myself. This one in particular, I told myself, heavy as I feel, let me come out and tell somebody we are in this together. And that's why I say, let's call other people. There are others who are going to listen to this. Today may be a bad day for other people to come in, but we'll share it even after this. Share it with your friends. The other thing is, when we minister to the grieving families, let us be sensitive. Let us ask questions. How can I help you? You may find that 10 people take meals, but there are many other needs. There could be other needs during the illness, during the funeral, after the funeral. And as we are grieving, I want to talk about after we bury somebody. We bury somebody, and the hardest thing is when the burial has happened, the funeral has happened, we scatter, we go away. There are children left behind. There is a husband left behind. There is a wife left behind. To face the four walls minus a spouse. To face the four walls minus a parent. With bills left behind. Grief is not just about burying somebody. Grief is continuous care, follow-up from us to encourage these people and say that mama is gone, daddy is gone, but we are here. And let's not just say, like we say, I'm praying for you. Are you really praying for me? Please pray for me for real. And if you're going to pray for me, remember that prayers are good, but sometimes we need practical prayers, practical help for the families who are grieving. The circumstances, Irene says, may be different for all of us. She says, life circumstances make you grieve, and people don't understand that. Yes, she's talking about grieving not just because of her death, but because of other circumstances that I've talked about. Grief also leads to alcoholism, it leads to depression, to drugs and everything. Then we start blaming the people who have gone into all kinds of vices, trying to cool their pain, trying to soothe their brokenness. trying to find a way of coping. Remember that our coping skills are very different. I have a book that I have written before I forget. This book is Healing Hope for Your Grief and Bereavement. Healing Hope for your grief and bereavement. It's all about grief, not just to losing a loved one to death. It is about all the grievances that you go through life. I have copies. If you want a copy, it's also available in Amazon.com. It's also an ebook for your Kindle reading. But I have copies. I would encourage you to read, because a lot of the things I have shared here, if they have helped you, if they have made sense to you, and you know somebody who is struggling, they have been stuck, they want to move on, but they dare not, you see them wasting away. They become very angry. They become untouchable. They can no longer relate with other people. Their children, the children and the spouses are having a hard time relating with them because they are stuck there. It's not like you can lift them out of it just like that. It's a walk of life. It depends on how you're caring with them, the way you relate with them. I discuss all those things in this book, Helping a Grieving Person. So get in touch with me. If you inbox me, we'll talk about it, and I'll mail it to you. It's the book is $15, of course, with a mailing cost for you wherever you are. But I would encourage us to do that. And I said we need to take care of the people who are, when we are talking about grieving, we need to love and accept people who are around us. Love and hug and appreciate the people around you. Let them know that whatever they have done, the mistakes and everything, you love them and you appreciate them, honor them. Begin the year by encouraging people that whatever mistakes they did in 2020 and beyond, you can forgive them. It could be that the people we are saying are stuck in the past are stuck because of what you have said to them. What's your language? The power of your tongue. You have the power to break somebody. You have the power to bless. You have the power to make and break. You have the power of life and death in your life. Don't wait until you tell these things to people on their deathbed. I always say that write your eulogy while you're still alive. We always say in our language, bury yourself while you're still alive. How do you want us to remember you? We are talking about grief because we will grieve you. But how do you want us to grieve you? As that person who was so inconsiderate, as that person who was so rude, as that person who was so proud they didn't care what others were going through, is that the eulogy you want us to write? I heard of a pastor who said, don't come here and read a eulogy that is full of lies. Write your eulogy today by your actions. Don't leave people writing lies about you. It is time we became transparent in every area of our lives. Are we living lies? Are we living fake lives? Are we just public images where we are treating people so well out there? We have made a public image, but back in our homes, our families are grieving while we are still alive. You are not dead, but your people have grieved you for years because you become a terror in the family. Whether you are a husband, a wife, a child who comes back and fights the very parents who have raised you. Many of us have grown up, become career women and men. We look back at our parents like failures. We forget that from the slums I grew in, that is where my parents made me. I am nothing. You are nothing minus those poor parents. You are nothing minus those uneducated parents. How many times do we see people driving Mercedes to go see their parents who are still living in a shack? In any part of the world, it happens, not just in Kenya. You are here, you are wearing like a queen and a king. Even here in America, it's international. We see people who are, very elegantly dressed, but tell them to take you to see their parents. Why do you wait to buy that suit, that beautiful dress, and shoes that your mother never wore, your father never wore? Why would you give them to wear a suit that they don't even smell? Why would you carry them in a limousine? They never rode in your car because they were too dirty. We are talking grief. They are grieving while you're still alive. That's why I said, what more do we need to say? We are talking about grief. There are many parents who are grieving even here, of all nationalities. I'm not talking about just us. I'm talking about all nationalities. And I don't know where this has just exploded from, but I think we need to talk about it. Our families are grieving while we are still alive. Yes. Because what we are projecting out there is not what we do when we are back home. We have our own monies in the bank where we are bragging, I have millions of dollars in the bank. Guess what? This pandemic has made a big difference. Somebody goes into the hospital. They do not have the time to write a will. They don't have time to tell their children or their wives or their husbands where that money is. Guess, here in the US, you die like that without a will, without your estate becomes a state wealth. You have children. They will never enjoy your sweat. We are grieving while you are still alive. You die with everything in secret places. You are known as a tycoon. But when you die, your children continue in poverty until the end. What good is that? We'll bury you with one suit. We'll bury you with one shoe. You will not even have a choice what we bury you in. So why not bury yourself when you're still alive? Teach us how to love on us, help us, and people don't even need your money, by the way. People are needing to be affirmed, to be accepted. A lot of the people who come into our units, I work for many years. I worked in the psych unit, in the behavioral unit. And people who come into those units say, I do not need anybody's money, but my parents have rejected me. My brothers want nothing to do with me. Because you have money, because you are living in a posh place, because you dress well, you don't want to be seen around these people. Remember, what goes around comes around. What is happening to one person can happen to another person. You and I have done nothing to God to be who we are today. Yes, we have worked hard. I have people who are struggling all around me who I know have worked hard all their lives. So what am I saying? You are not who you are just because you worked hard, but there is God's grace in you. Can you have that grace? Can you show that grace and compassion on the people around you who are grieving while you are eating and drinking? This COVID, this pandemic has brought a lot of awareness in us. The other day I listened to a mother saying, yes, you are saying I need to buy a mask, but am I going to buy a mask or a loaf of bread? And you have masks in your car. You have extra masks that you can share. Or you can buy masks and send them to people who are having to buy in. Am I going to buy bread or am I going to buy a mask? And when you see them, I get kind of, I get into a fearful mood when I see somebody without a mask. I get scared and I want to be cautious. But after hearing that from a mother who said, allow me to tell you why I'm not wearing a mask, I became more sensitive. If I see somebody without a mask, I carry an extra one. Give them a mask. Don't just judge them. Because that is what we are busy doing. They have to balance between what goes first. They have a sick child. They need to buy medicine. They have to buy a mask. If there was a time we needed to share resources, it is now more than ever before. I can talk for hours because this is a very sensitive. Yeah, yes, I called you to, I said we talk about grief, and I'm talking about grief, but there is a lot more things. I said when I call us to talk about grief, you think it is because we lost a loved one. Yes, I've talked a lot about losing a loved one to death, and that's a very, very sensitive topic because I've gone through it over and over and over, from losing a baby to losing my parents to losing a siblings. It's been my work, and there is no doubt it is painful. But it is also painful looking at other losses in life that bring deep, deep sense of grief that we don't even share with people because you know what people are going to say. So you keep quiet. And before you know it, a mother has taken the life of his wife and children because he knew, I cannot afford this, but I don't want to leave my wife and my children suffering. I'm not saying that is a way out. Come out, let's be available. We as a community need to be available in our churches, in our place. Let us speak out. Please don't harm anybody. Let's talk together. If you have 2 loaves of bread that you can spare one, please, it may be that one thing. That one little thing that you are taking for granted that could move this person from thinking damage to thinking hope. Yes, I said it, from thinking damage to thinking hope. Give them a sense of hope. Give them a sense of being accepted instead of being judged. You are laughing at them. Didn't you plan yourself? Nobody planned for COVID. Nobody plans for trouble. Nobody plans for death. Nobody planned for the loss of jobs. Many people have lost their homes because of unexpected foreclosures. They waited for years to buy a home, but now they are back in the streets. Many of our homeless people are people like you. And when we find them standing on the corners of the road, oftentimes I have learned to say, God, I used to say I don't want to give them because they might end up going to buy drugs or something. But God convicted me. If you have something, and they are saying they are cold, they want to go out and buy food. If you have food, give them food. We are talking about grief. They are grieving on the streets, cold in the streets. Wherever you are, there are people like that. God has convicted me. Do your part. Let them do what they are going to do. I'm not encouraging that we give them to go do bad things with your money. But if you feel genuinely called and convicted, a lot of people are genuinely hurting. They are grieving their loss of lifestyle. They are grieving their past, and they are stuck there. At times, they just need for somebody to talk to them and say, you know what? I see you. I don't judge you. I don't blame you. I believe in you, and I know you can make it again. Can you be that voice that will tell somebody, this is not going to be, things are not going to be like this forever. Things are going to change. Can you be that voice of hope? Can you be that voice that stops judging and encourages? Can you be a voice of encouragement? Sit with people who are going through job losses and talk to them. Is there a kind of business you can do that can start with something small? And if they say that even if it means selling vegetables, let them start there, but don't judge them and just look at them going downhill. Remember that when we allow people to go downhill, if it is your sister going downhill, grieving losses, if they go down completely, you and I are left taking care of their families after they are dead. Why can't we love on them when they are still alive? Why can't we encourage them when they are still able to take care of their families, equip them? empower them, encourage them, and allow them to do what they need to do. I hope you got something that encourages you. All is not lost. As we go into the new year, there are many things we need to let go from the past. There is pain, there is regret, there is fear. We feel very uncertain about the future, but remember what we read where God is telling us He is doing something new in our lives. He's watching over you. He promises He will walk through it with you. I dare you to trust Him. I dare you to know that He will be there for you. He has been there in the past. What keeps me going is looking how far God has brought me through so many valleys. Am I scared? I am. Am I fearful at times? You bet. But every now and again, God reminds me, I was with you when you're struggling. I've been with you when you're crying. I've been with you through your sicknesses when you faced death. Is anything too hard for God? Is anything, and He says He's a promise keeper. He has never lied. Can we trust Him for once? We are hearing a lot of reports about COVID. We are hearing a lot of things that are making us wonder, how are we going to make it? If you are the remnant of 2020, I am encouraging you to be positive and be that voice of hope for other people. I think we have had so much negativity around us. We need some positive vibes. Can you be that positive vibe for somebody? Do I know what is ahead? I don't know, but I know who holds the future. Because He lives, I can face tomorrow. I don't know what there is. If you ask me, I don't know, but I know my God is in the future. I know He's able. I know He cares. I know He does not discriminate. What He has done for generations in the past, during the Depression, during the emergency in my country where we didn't see any light ahead of us, He did it. He will do it again. As we head into 2021, I want to encourage you that God has not brought you this far without a reason. May we pray that He will abide with you. Put your hand in the hand of the man of Galilee, because that hand is strong. He is our refuge. He is our hiding place. Hold the hand of the people around you. Don't walk alone. And if you are grieving, if you are going through stuff, remember you are not alone. Many of us have gone through, and we are still in that valley. There's somebody walking ahead of you, and if you're ahead of somebody, look behind and get hold of somebody so that together we can get out of this. Abide with me, fast falls the eventide. The darkness deepens, Lord, with me abide. When other helpers fail and comforts flee, help of the helpless, oh, abide with me. I need Thy presence every passing hour. What but Thy grace can foil the tempter's power? Who like Thyself my guide and stay can be? Through cloud and sunshine, Lord, abide with me. I fear no foe, with Thee at hand to bless. Ills have no weight, and tears no bitterness. Where is death's sting? Where grave Thy victory? I triumph still if thou abide with me. I pray that God will abide with you, my sister, my brother. I wish I could touch you and tell you that it is going to be well. The Lord told Isaiah, go tell my people, it shall be well. As a minister of the gospel, I say this. It shall be well, not because of me, not because of any of us, but because our Creator has a plan for us. Jeremiah 29:11, he says this, knowing there is pandemic, knowing there is pain and heartache. For I know the plans I have for you, to give you a future with hope, but never to harm you. He did not bring you to the end of the year without a plan. He knows you have hurt. He knows you have wept. He knows you are grieving the fact that your mother is not walking into the new year with you, that your son, your daughter is not walking into the new year with you for whatever reason. He knows that you're walking into the new year as a divorcee. He still loves you. He knows that you don't have a job as you go into the new year. He still loves you. He cares for you. He will provide for you. He knows that your children have gone astray. He cares for you. He knows that your husband and your wife are not doing what they are supposed to do, but God cares for you. He promises, I am here with you. It is well. It is well with my soul. May it be well with your soul. Let us make it a habit. The Bible tells us, do not forsake the fellowship of other believers. Because you know what? Together we can make it. I am because you are. I cannot be the penny you see if I lead in total isolation. This COVID has hit me so big because I love meeting with people. I love, if I do nothing else, I love fellowshipping. And sometimes I just meet with my friends and we go sit somewhere. The way I sat today, I went to the lake and I walked alone. I don't want to do this all the time. I just needed to be out. But under normal circumstances, I would have called my friends and we would have gathered. Let's go and walk around the lake. Guess what? Christ walked around the lake with me this morning. He is doing that with you. I am praying he enters into 2021 with you and with me. And we want to tell the devil in no uncertain terms, we do not owe him anything. COVID or no COVID, God promises you and me victory. Can you be that voice of hope for somebody? You have listened to me for over an hour. Please share this message with other people. There are people who are hiding, who are hurting alone. There are people who are crying in hiding. They don't call somebody. You call them, they don't pick up phone. I know that is hard. Write a message, take them a message, forward this message for them. And I say again, give the roses, give the meals, clothe your people, clean your people, give your families a roof over their heads while they are still alive. Let us stop building homes so that when we take mommy and daddy home before their burial, they can go. They can get into a stone house they never saw. I have heard it happening. Why build a stone house to put a coffin when your parents never enjoyed that house? You're calling a curse on yourself. Those of us who come from my country, we know what curses are about. Why are we doing this? Love on your people when they still can see you. Talk to them and encourage them. Some people don't need your money. Some people just need a word of encouragement, a word of affirmation. Let me not start it again. I think this is another topic for another day. But please, love on your people. Remember, you are not alone, and I'm not alone. I love you. I appreciate that you came to listen to me. I appreciate that you came and stayed all the way with me. I wish you the best year ahead. I wish you comfort. I wish you grace beyond your problems. He says, my grace will be sufficient for you. I wish you that grace that covers your pain, that covers your grief, that gives you strength when you need it. May the Lord meet you at every point of your need. I don't know what you need, but He knows. Go tell it to your Father. Tell it to God and tell God, God, this is what I need to enter into 2021. We have some hours. He's listening. He cares for you. I wish you a happy and blessed, prosperous new year and beyond. The best is yet to come. Bye and God bless you. Thank you so much.